topic. Let's talk about Dragon Age the Veilguard, more so about PC gamers. So PC gamer, apparently, and this is very interesting because, again, I want you guys to understand that PC gamer, the kind of establishment that they are, they're not exactly the non-woke kind of side. You know what I'm saying? They will advocate for a lot of the nonsense that a lot of you guys hate these days. But PC gamer and the editor that works at PC gamer apparently has bashed Dragon Age the Veilguard and declares that he's done with Bioware. Now, this is not a super crazy headline. This is actually true. He really is done. He's totally done. And he really did bash it. It's not a joke. Like, the guy does not like Dragon Age the Veilguard, and he tried to force himself to like it. He even admits that he tried to force himself to like it, that he put more time into it than he really would have naturally if he wasn't a journalist, and he just had a meltdown over it. So let's read what he got to say, because the guy's name is Fraser Brown. He's an online editor, Fraser Brown, over at PC Gamer. He says in an article titled, "After years of holding out hope, 2024 was the year I finally gave up on Bioware." Brown documented his history with Bioware and Dragon Age. It's crazy shit. He says, after spending much of the article explaining his history with the company and the franchise, he then tore into Veilguard, declaring, "I really tried to enjoy myself. God, I tried so hard. I attempted to find nuggets of joy within its ham-fisted dialogue, one-note companions, and the flashy but soulless fights, but I just couldn't do it. Every time there was a glimmer of hope, it was dashed against the rocks of infinite disappointment." Now, you guys know, if you watched on Griffcast, I streamed Dragon Age the Veilguard to completion. And if you remember, one of the things I complained about in the game, you think this is bad? Just wait, it gets worse. I see you guys reacting in chat. Hold on, it gets worse. Don't worry. One of the things I complained about when it comes to Dragon Age the Veilguard was there was moments in the game where I could feel something trying to shine through. I don't exactly know what that something was, but there was something trying to shine through. Every once in a while, there would be something that happens, and I would think, oh, that's interesting. And I would just have a little bit of a moment where I'm thinking, okay, maybe we might actually get somewhere. And then 5 minutes later, the game fucking ruins it. And it happens a lot. That particular feeling in Dragon Age the Veilguard happens a lot, where you feel like you're about to get to a certain moment where you could finally say something positive about the game, and it fucks you in the ass. Literally. It fucks you, and it doesn't even use any lube. It just completely wrecks your shit. It just fucks it up. And I'm like, what is happening? What is happening? So I find it interesting that he actually said this, because I felt the same exact thing when I played the game. So it goes to show that this is a thing that's pretty common with this game. Anyway, so then he said, honestly, I'm amazed I finished it. There was certainly a point where I was starting to feel like I'd rather do anything else than listen to a hot gray warden talk about his big dumb bird for the 100th time, or play therapist to a giant dragon slayer who just wants to moan about how their mom doesn't understand them. These should have been great characters. A veteran knight reclaiming his lost order's legacy, a proud warrior wrestling with their cultural and gender identity. There's so much good stuff to mine here, but nope, they're just plain boring. All of them. So, okay, so it gets worse than this. He cooks them. But yes, I agree with this too. And again, to bring it back, if you guys watch me on Griffcast, I said you felt like a therapist every single time you spoke to your companions. Every time. This was Therapy Session, the RPG. It wasn't even really an RPG. Hold on, I got a cough. It was Therapy Session, the RPG. That's what it was. So the entire time I'm sitting there and I'm like, why are we doing this? Why exactly? Why can't I just be real with these people? Why can't I tell them to get over it? Why can't, you know what I mean? I just got to play the nice guy the entire time and pretend like I give a fuck about these companions when I don't. None of us care about these companions. Nobody cared about them. That's why I had all of them die at the end of the game. But anyway, He said, nevertheless, after bashing the game, Brown made it clear that he was done with Bioware moving forward. He says, when I got to the final cutscene that teased what we can expect from the next Dragon Age, it really sealed the deal. I'm out. Bioware just isn't telling stories I care about anymore. Instead of moping around, I'm moving on. Bioware had an exceptional run, but that developer is long gone. What's left is just an EA studio that makes middling games I'm not really interested in. Wow. Middling games. That's rough. So, you guys know my history with Bioware. I've been very upfront with my history with Bioware. Bioware was a company that for me could do no wrong. It could do no wrong. Everything, like Bioware was a perfect company that put out nothing but magic, right? But that kind of died slowly after Mass Effect 3. Mass Effect 3's ending was the first major backlash around Bioware that I remember being there for. I remember the magazines. I remember all of it. I remember the YouTube videos, everything. And then after that, obviously you had the debacle that was Mass Effect Andromeda, and then you had Anthem as well. Yes, PC Gamer wrote this. Yeah, I mean, I'm reading Fandom Pulse, but PC Gamer wrote this, which is crazy. So for me, I was already starting to check out after Mass Effect 3. But then I really checked out after Mass Effect Andromeda. After Mass Effect Andromeda, I was out. For me, Bioware was a dead studio. I didn't care. And then Anthem just made sure that I was correct in that notion, right? I had already made up my mind with Andromeda, and then Anthem was like, yep, like, I'm good. I'm good. So this studio is cooked, right? And they even have people who are supposed to be on their side. Now they're roasting them. Now they're like, you know what? Nah, I'm good. I'm done. It's just boring. If you have people at PC Gamer saying that your story is ham-fisted, then you know you're going too hard. You know you're going way too hard when the hardcore lefties are telling you, hey, you're being a little heavy-handed with the messaging here. You know what I'm saying? You know you went too far. So then what do you do? Do you go back? No, you can't go back. How do you go back? How do you as BioWare go back to what you used to do after virtue signaling so hard with what you just did? How do you go back to a game with no trans scars? How do you go back to a game that's not talking about gender identity? How do you go back to a non-trans quest line? How do you go back? You just don't. You don't go back. So now at this point, they're eating their own. The journalists are eating the game. The game is using whatever journalists that they possibly can left to try to spin the narrative to positivity. But we all know the game is fucked. The game is completely fucked. So then, here's another good part. Interestingly enough, Brown previously panned the game when it released at the end of October, but he was not as harsh in his criticism. Instead, he compared the game to Marvel's Avengers. He says it is a polished and competent BioWare action RPG that follows a very safe, conventional pattern. The old BioWare magic has been codified and sanitized, and now feels dated, even more so than BioWare's actually pretty old RPGs. It is as broad, predictable, and inoffensive as a crowd-pleasing Marvel movie, all flashy, clean, and easy to digest. So it has the power to be entertaining, but never in any way that will stick with you. There are no big swings, no risk, no shocks, and while I have enjoyed some of it, for most of my fourth trip of course status, I've been left pretty bored. Damn. And again, I want you guys to understand, this is somebody who works at PC Gamer. If you got PC Gamer roasting your game and the game is woke, something's wrong. Something's very wrong. So then Brown's comments were more harsh comments came in the wake of a number of pieces of evidence that indicate the game sales are not good, which, I mean, we've already talked about to nausea, so I'm not even going to bring that up. So at this point, I think it's safe to say that whether BioWare releases a good Mass Effect or not, I think most people are kind of done. I think most people are done to the point where they're gonna move along. They're gonna walk away from BioWare, and the game could be good, doesn't matter. They probably won't buy it, and if they do, they'll wait till it's on mega sale, $5, $7, whatever. That's what they'll do. Otherwise, they're not going to care. And I don't blame them. I totally don't blame them. I get it. And again, if you lose the Wokies and you were trying to go for them, you really fucked up. You clearly went too hard with your messaging, which is what we've been saying the entire time. But you guys know they don't listen to us. They only listen. They only listen if they themselves say it. If they themselves start saying it, then they'll all start repeating it, which is crazy because here's what they say about us. They say, oh, once one YouTuber does a video, all of us do videos. Okay. And because once one journalist says one thing, all of you change your tune. All of you change your tune. And now you want to start attacking Dragon Age of Veilguard when at first you was sucking it off so hard. So let's be real here. Anyway, that's basically it, boys. There's more to it, but I go over that in my video because I'm running out of time tonight right now. But there's more to it, so make sure to check out my video if you want the full context over this story. But that's basically it. PC Gamer roasted Dragon Age of Veilguard, and they deserve it. They deserve all of it. So